like that.
Yeah, me too.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here with you guys on a Tuesday edition. My mind's all out of whack in the Super Bowl week. Here on 97.3 ESPN, hanging out with you. Senior Bowl was this past weekend. Super Bowl is this weekend. We will talk about that all coming up with Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports at 6:20 here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you can join the conversation by DMing the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Also, you can text in at 609-403-0973. Also, don't forget, if you have the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you have gotten the alert today about the South Jersey High School Athlete of the Week nominees. Don't forget to go to 973ESPN.com and the 973 ESPN mobile app to vote for those folks. Good news and bad news in the NBA. The good news is there's activity. Bad news is it doesn't involve the 76ers so far. And I'm going to start with the NBA here, and we'll get to the NFL before we get to Eric, because we got a lot of NFL draft talk with Eric Edholm coming up in about 18 minutes from now. But, man, looking at all the movement so far that is going on in the NBA, I'm so used to a world where you get to like deadline day and like an hour before the deadline, or 2 hours or 3 hours, things just go nuts. And it seems like everything went nuts days before the deadline. And I almost rather have it this way because it's easier to digest and think ahead and process the information. But seeing the trades that have happened, it's convinced me that either teams were negotiating in poor faith with the Sixers, or Daryl Morey was always gunning for James Harden. Here's why I say that. Look at first the Kings-Pacers deal. Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday are going to Sacramento. Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield are going to Sacramento, along with Tristan Thompson, who I didn't even know Tristan Thompson played for the Kings, so that tells you, the state of part of that deal was a salary dump. But the fact that they were willing to trade Tyrese Halliburton for Domantas Sabonis and they kept Buddy Hield behind has to tell you that the Kings just weren't offering something to the Sixers that they either wanted or they thought was fair value. And then the CJ McCollum deal with New Orleans and Portland, that screams roster just overhaul for Portland. Portland is basically in two deals, taken their roster, flipped it on its head, and just swapped out almost everybody on the roster who's not named Damian Lillard or Yusuf Nurkic, and Nurkic is going to be a free agent offseason. So, and considering McCollum was a guy that people had talked about possibly in the Ben Simmons deal, the fact that New Orleans was a team that had been rumored at one point to be interested in the Ben Simmons deal. And of course, there's a handful of people out there who would be like, well, we could have had Josh Hart in Philadelphia, bring him home. And, Josh Hart for Ben Simmons was never going to happen. Let's be realistic. But you're looking at these deals and you're realizing that the kind of offers that were out there didn't fit into the Daryl Morey criteria of a top 30, top 40 player. Now, Tyrese Halliburton would have been very fascinating to see in a Sixers uniform. But how sure are we that what his potential is going to be? I don't know, neither do you. We don't know for sure. We know Domantas Sabonis is an all-star, but Him and Tobias Harris are kind of the same player. Look at CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum, he's a top 50 player, but I don't know if he's a top 30 player. I know I'm splitting hairs, but I'm saying all this because the other story that came out today that is even bigger, Bradley Beall will not be traded. How do I know that? Because the news came out today that Bradley Beall is going under surgery on his wrist that will end his season and that will immediately put him in the crosshairs for free agency. I don't think it's a coincidence that you have a situation now where most of the teams that could have made a deal for either Harden or Simmons are no longer in the conversation. They have all made trades. They have all made moves already without the Sixers and without the Nets. Also, look who else has not made trades yet. Nothing from Atlanta, aside from the Cam Reddish deal a few months ago. Nothing from Minnesota. It's really starting to look like that Daryl Morey was either always gunning for Harden or no one was offering him a legitimate deal. Look, you don't have all these trades happen with all of these players and all of these pieces that could have potentially came to Philadelphia if the players that were coming to Philadelphia were never really coming in the first place. Has Daryl Morey always been hedging his bet for James Harden? That's a dangerous proposition. Because number one, to be that narrow-minded and that tunnel vision on one player, it's got to make you uncomfortable. You're a Sixers fan. And that's not a negative against James Harden. It's a fact of life. It's part of the bigger picture, right? It's part of the situation where if you are, as I said, a Sixers fan, you want Daryl Morey to get the best deal possible for Ben Simmons. But are we 100% convinced that James Harden is the best deal possible? I don't know if I have that answer specifically, but I know one thing for sure. If the Sixers walk out of the deadline with James Harden and without Ben Simmons, almost every Sixer fan will be happy. In February of 2022. Whether you're still happy in February 2023 is a different conversation. And this is where I'm sweating the details a little bit, honestly. I'm sweating the details on what exactly are you getting. I've heard other people bring this point up, and I think it's a very fair thing to bring up. James Harden is 32 years old. He will be 33 next season. He has not really been healthy for a couple of years now. When he was going on that stretch of years in Houston from 2012, 2013 to 2018, 2019, he was playing a minimum of 72 games a year, averaging 29 points, putting in 37 minutes a game. Since the 2019-2020 season, now obviously part of that time was the COVID pandemic and that shortened seasons, but here is the number of games he has played in the last couple of years. 68, 44, 44. That doesn't sound like a guy who is available. Now, he's only playing about half a minute less than he did the stretch of other games. But he's scoring a little less. His turnovers are up a little bit. Is James Harden still the same guy if you get him for Ben Simmons? Either Daryl Morey is hyper-focused on one guy who apparently has an ongoing hamstring issue, or Daryl Morey legitimately hasn't gotten any good offers for Ben Simmons. You guys can tell me what you guys think is the reality. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open. 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. Now, on the NFL front, we are just days away from the Super Bowl. And as I started looking ahead to the game, there's one aspect of this matchup that I just have not been able to escape from so far. And we'll break down, the props and the odds and all that stuff as we get closer. But I'm really starting to wonder. If I can accept any other matchup priority except for one. The Rams defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times versus the Titans. Joe Burrow got beat up against the Raiders in their pass rush. The Chiefs were making him scramble for his life numerous times in that AFC Championship game. And then on top of all of those things, you have a situation that now you have the best defensive line they are going to see all postseason. I don't know if there is a more important matchup than this. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, all of those guys who play the front line of the Rams versus a Bengals O-line that really is not good. Joe Burrow has bailed them out so many times this year. A lesser quarterback would have been destroyed. But Joe Burrow's athleticism combined with his moxie, combined with his football IQ, has willed the Bengals to this point. And I'm just saying, there's a part of me that wonders, is there a more important matchup than this? I'm starting to not think so. Message coming in over at 609-403-0973 on the text board. Dan EHT chimes in about the Ben Simmons conversations. It's official. Nobody wants Ben Simmons. More, better wake up and be honest with himself in the basketball universe. Well, Dan EHT, that's not official. It's not that nobody wants Ben Simmons. That's not what I said at all for the last 10 minutes of the show, 14 minutes of the show. That's not what anyone else has put out there. It's that teams were lowballing Daryl Morey to try to get him the bail on Ben Simmons trade by offering, for example, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, maybe Tristan Thompson, Rashawn Holmes, who came to Sacramento. If the Pelicans would have said, you want Brandon Ingram, I think you would have had a conversation, but there's no way they offered that. And considering that the Pelicans traded, let me pull up the full trade, because when you see what the Pelicans gave up for CJ McCollum, you realize that these were probably some of the guys who were theoretically offered for Ben Simmons too. Let me just scroll down to get the exact list here. Here it is. Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nikhil Walker-Alexander, Didi Lozada, and a 2022 protected first-round pick and 2 second-round picks for C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. Now, let's assume not all of those players have been traded, because if it was a McCollum-Simmons center deal, I doubt that they were offering also Larry Nance as well. So for the Blazers and Simmons, is that really an all things equal deal? Maybe, maybe not. For New Orleans, if you're offering Josh Hart and Thomas Satoransky and Nikhil Walker-Alexander, what you're basically offering is 3 players who don't really add up to Ben Simmons' value. So Dan EHT, it's not that nobody wants Ben Simmons. It's that Daryl Morey was not going to take 50 cents on the dollar. He was not going to take a return that was half of what is a guy who is a 3-time NBA All-Star. I'm not saying you should go out and be able to get some superstar for Ben Simmons, but if the best deal you're offering is a package built around Josh Hart from New Orleans, or a package built around Buddy Hield and Harrison Barnes from Sacramento, or a package that is in that caliber of range, it's not that nobody wants Ben Simmons. It's that everyone is trying to get Daryl Morey to move off of his price mark. And just like a good car salesman, Daryl Morey is not going to take anything less than what he considers the market value, whether that is the price on the car or whether that's the price he has in private. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I'll get back to you more of your guys' thoughts and comments in just a bit. Keep them coming in. You can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, you can text in as well at 609-403-0973. More NFL talk upcoming on next Yahoo Sports. Eric Edholm joins us next right here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here comes Maxey. Underhand scoop, good. He got it. And Maxey in the front row. He's a fan favorite.
The Sixers host the Phoenix Suns. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Matt Black Kia has a solution to your New Year's resolution. Don't drive around in a car you hate. Trade it in for something great. So bring us any trade, no matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter the condition, and put zero down. Pay zero interest for 60 months or make no payments for 90 days. If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Black Kia can get you released. Choose from the largest selection of certified pre-owned Kias. So why make a resolution you can't keep? Trade in your old Jeep and drive away in a new Kia with zero down and zero interest for 60 months on every 2022 Kia Stinger, or make no payments until next year.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1667 per 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity financed into new loan. Excludes taxes, title, license. Offers don't combine. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
New Spicy Lovers Pizza from Pizza Hut is here. With spicy marinara, sliced red chilies, and a fiery blend of herbs and crushed red pepper, your taste buds will thank you after they've cooled down. New Spicy Lovers Pizza. No one out-pizzas the Hut. Product availability and prices may vary. Exclusions apply.
Every 4 years, the world's greatest athletes compete for gold.
Team USA wins gold.
That time is now. The Winter Olympics are coming to NBC and Peacock.
Team USA would not be denied.
17 days of action, excitement, glory, and history in the making.
United States wins gold.
Don't miss a single epic moment. The Winter Olympics continue tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Sure, we have 30 seconds to tell you that drivers who switch to Progressive could save big. But then what? Well, radio has been called theater of the mind, so let's tell a story with sound effects. Wow, it's like I was in the story. Almost makes me forget this was supposed to be about saving big with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Powerball is now at $158 million. Stop searching for four-leaf clovers and take a chance on Powerball today. With a jackpot win, you can have the power to do it all. Anything can happen in Jersey.
So you're thinking about a new job. Better update your resume. Better text that friend of a friend who works in HR. Or, better idea, you go to thenewmonster.com, peruse millions of jobs, thousands of words of career advice. Now you're not just thinking about a new job, you are applying for it, interviewing for it, bragging before you even get it, investing in khakis. Good for you. Good for the world. Good way to find a new job. Go to thenewmonster.com or download our app today.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe.
Eesh.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day.
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
Some people are easily moved.
Wasn't that just the saddest movie ever?
Whatever. Others, not so much.
Oh, look at the puppies!
Just dogs, but smaller, so what? But even those who aren't easily moved.
Look, your long-lost brother's been found.
Oh, hi, Mike. Can be moved by us. Yeah, we're that good.
Use Clark's Moving and Storage in Rio Grande for your next local or long-distance move. Visit Clark's Moving and Storage online at clarksmoving.net.
So, I just picked out the perfect ring. And that night, my girlfriend started seeing ads for wedding dresses. I haven't even popped the question yet. Why is she seeing ads for things based on what I'm looking at online? I downloaded the DuckDuckGo app, and I stopped getting creepy ads right away.
DuckDuckGo is the easy button for privacy. With one simple download, you can search, browse, and email privately. Take back your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
When you order your Walgreens prescriptions with same-day delivery, it's possible you'll experience some side effects. Side effects may include joy that you won't run out of your pills, and disbelief at just how crazy fast the delivery came right to your door. Get your same-day prescription refill today on the Walgreens app.
To use same-day RX delivery or 1 to 2 business day delivery, you must be opted into prescription status alerts. It will appear as an option of orders before that store's cutoff time for the day. Certain health plans do not cover or participate in same-day RX delivery. Check with your health plan for further details. Excludes California.
Football fans, the weekend you've waited for is finally here. Put your game face on to make sure your game day picks are perfect with the best wings, ears, and tails in South Jersey. All from the Piccalilli Inn on Route 206 in Chemung. For generations, the Piccalilli has been #1 for the big game. Try any of their homestyle favorites and find out why. Visit them on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick Picks Big Game Specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup.
The Piccalilli Inn.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Senior Bowl this past weekend, Super Bowl coming up. Football still going on. To talk more about it, Yahoo Sports, Eric Edholm. Follow him on Twitter at Eric_Edholm for all of your NFL draft analysis. Eric, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. Yes, Senior Bowl was great. Super Bowl coming up Sunday. Good time to be alive.
Let's start with the Senior Bowl because you were doing a lot of coverage of that. And, one of the things I took away from it seems like, and I want to know from you, one thing happened in the practices, another thing happened in the game itself, it seemed like, with a lot of those guys. So when it comes to evaluation of these prospects, how do people or how should they differentiate between maybe the guy who does better in a game versus a practice, or a guy who maybe just already has some red flags and the practice or the game amplified those things?
Yeah, I mean, I personally sort of treat the game itself as like a day of practice, right? And there are 3 days of practice, not counting a walkthrough they probably go through on Friday. But, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the meat and potatoes of the head-to-head action between the players, practicing against each other and such. I sort of look at the game in a similar way. Obviously, it's a competitive atmosphere, and you want to see how the players respond with referees. They had refs at practice too, but yeah, you're right. I mean, there were some players who really stood out. I mean, like I think of a guy like Boye Mafe, a rush end from Minnesota. I mean, he started out slowly on Tuesday, didn't see him much, and then by Wednesday, it kind of made his presence felt and really ascended all the way through the game. I thought he had a terrific game. Perry and Winfrey too, and so when you see a player who doesn't have the best first day, but they're one of the best players on the field by the end of the week, I don't know how you don't look at that as a positive. If it's the other way around, maybe you raise some questions, but yeah, I think at this, I sort of treat it like 1 day's worth of practice, I would say.
A lot of people are going to focus on the quarterbacks, and from everything I've heard and read, and then when I saw in the game, I got to admit, all week I was hearing about the conversation about Pickett and Willis. And then in the game, it was Sam Howell's game in many ways. So, what is up with these quarterbacks? Because I feel like everything I've heard you and others say is that this is not a great quarterback class. So, we know guys are going to be overdrafted. It happens every year. So what do we evaluate these quarterbacks as of this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a huge amount separating them. Now, Malik Willis is probably in a category unto his own because I think he's got an exceptionally high ceiling. He's got somewhat of a low floor, right? If he doesn't develop properly, I think there's going to be some real question as to, whether he can be anything like a Josh Allen or that type of quarterback, a big physical runner with some speed, also incredible arm talent. But, given the system he played in at Liberty, the adjustment period that probably lies ahead, I sort of put him separate, but I didn't think there was a whole heck of a lot separating Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, even Carson Strong. I didn't think he had the best week, but he showed enough to Kenny Pickett, and Pickett was good. I mean, he really didn't have a bad day of practice. I don't think he had a little bit of trouble in the rain, but the only one who really didn't was probably Willis. And he played a good game too. I mean, he had the first drive and 6 for 6, let him right down the field. That's what you want out of your first team quarterback there. So, I was a little underwhelmed with Bailey Zappi. He did have a good final day of practice, but really the 6 guys who were down there, I don't know that there's a whole lot separating. What has gotten people's attention is that there is no Trevor Lawrence, there is no Justin Fields, right? There isn't even really a Trey Lance, although the closest I think would be Willis.
I've heard a lot of people talk about Pickett's hand size and the fact that he wouldn't get it measured, and the fact that he claims he has the double opposable thumb, and the fact that he wore a glove in the rain. And I feel like every year there's something with a quarterback that people obsess over. So is the hand size thing with Pickett legitimate, or is that just something that people are latching on to because they have nothing else to complain about?
Yeah, no, I think it's a concern, right? You put it on the list and you try to figure out how much it matters. Working in his favor is that he played in poor weather at Pitt. Just turn on the North Carolina game from last year. You'll see some rain. You'll see some nasty weather, some wind on an NFL stadium, and he threw for 340 whatever yards. So then again, he was futzing with his glove during it, and you're right. Scouts did measure him in the spring at 8.25 inches for his hand size. Now, people who don't sort of follow hand size Twitter may not know what that means, but very few starting quarterbacks in this league are below 9 inches. That's sort of the bottom. Burrow was a 9-inch guy. Jared Goff had 9-inch hands. That's considered on the smaller side. So 8.25, the only quarterback measurement that I've been able to find in the last several years that low was Kevin Davidson, a kid who was, I don't even think ended up on a roster, a Princeton quarterback. So, is it a thing? Well, you look at his fumbles in college and he had quite a few. That's going to be a club by club determinant, right? If it's an indoor team, half their games under a dome, probably won't be as big a concern. If it's a outdoor cold weather, nasty team, right? Seattle, right? Some of the Northeast teams, what have you, maybe they're going to be a little more concerned about it. So it really is going to depend club by club and on their comfort level with it. But you're right. Like Teddy Bridgewater, he's done the 2-glove thing, and I think it's kind of helped him a little bit.
One more guy I want to ask you about, Matt Corral. He wasn't there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's coming off the injury. There are some people who are suggesting that maybe he benefited from not getting this hyper critique of Senior Bowl week, and that the big difference right now between him and the other guys is that there wasn't the last week to maybe rise or fall. So what is your position on Matt Corral, and how does he fall in with the rest of the pack?
Yeah, I've seen that stance thrown out there, is that, he benefited because the others were, good, but maybe not mind-blowing in any way. And I'd be willing to sort of go along with that theory. I mean, Corral's not some perfect prospect who doesn't have flaws, obviously. I think anybody who's watched him knows it. But it's an exciting player who at times fared very well against SEC competition, right? If you're going to compare him to anybody in recent years, it's probably Zach Wilson. Size-wise, arm-wise, game-wise, style, the whole bit. It looks very similar. And, he had more tape against better competition than Wilson did. He went number 2. Then again, Wilson struggled too. I mean, he didn't really look the part until maybe the end of the year after his injury, after he'd been out of the lineup for a little bit. So with Corral, yeah, first we got to know the health situation after the bowl game injury. You give him credit for going out there, and his teammates, I think, made sure to make that happen and give him the praise that he deserves. I'm ambivalent about him. I mean, I like certain things about him. He's got that live arm and that dual threat ability. I also felt like most of his production this year came from within the system, and when he tried to veer outside of it, it didn't look as good. So that's where maybe he separates, or he's a little bit different from Wilson. So, yeah, I mean, I always go back to the Mitch Trubisky example, right? The Bears saw 14 games of Trubisky and liked him more than 29 games of Patrick Mahomes, 30-something starts from Deshaun Watson. They were more intrigued by the smaller data set than they were by the larger one. Other teams may feel the same about Corral for the reason you just laid out with him not being at the Senior Bowl.
Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Follow on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. Eric, let's bring a local here. First of all, a specific local guy, Bo Melton. He literally went to high school like 20 minutes from where I'm sitting right here.
Nice.
Went to Rutgers. He's a guy that a lot of people in this area are curious about who and what he is at the next level, because he was at a Rutgers school, let's be realistic, was not exactly a great powerhouse offensively. They went through, I think, 5 different quarterbacks during his time there. So, who is he? What is he? A lot of people seem very complimentary of him coming out of Senior Bowl week.
Yeah, I thought he really looked quicker and faster than I realized. Sometimes you see it on tape, but to see it in person, it's a little bit of a different thing. And I think he's really got the ability to be kind of a multi-purpose weapon, right? You could probably use him in the slot. Maybe you could try him outside. I thought his releases from the line were very quick, so inside would certainly be, a possibility for him. You could put him in the return game, use him on some, trick plays and end rounds and things like that. I mean, I thought he was a natural hands catcher from what I could see. He did have one drop in the rain, but I mean, everybody was dropping passes that day, I think. So, I would say more likely an inside receiver, probably a day 3 pick if I had to guess, but I agree. I thought he played really well throughout the week. Looked like he knew what he was doing. It didn't take a lot of instruction, to get him in the right spots. It felt like he picked things up pretty fast, and he was ultra competitive kid too. So I like that. He's got a lot going for him in a good receiver class, but not quite to the level we've seen the last 2 years.
Let me write in my next question. You said it's a good receiver class, not a great one. And everyone's got a mock draft now. You go online, there's 2 million mock drafts, but almost every one of them, I see the Eagles taking a receiver in the first round. And I don't know, Eric, if that's a good idea. Like, I feel like, this is maybe the time for them to spend some money on a receiver instead of going and drafting another guy in the first round. I mean, at some point you got to stop drafting dudes in the first round, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a real fair point. And obviously even, you just sort of look at the other high picks that they've made there that haven't quite panned out. And so, whether we're talking about John Hightower, I know he was a little bit of a later pick, or whether we're talking about Arcega-Whiteside too, they've had plenty of cracks at the bat, plenty of opportunities to find their guy. It looks like Devontae, they did. There's probably something with Quez Watkins there, again, just off the top of my head. But yeah, I would think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, even though Devontae probably acts and plays and practices like a veteran, it would be nice to get, maybe a little bit more of a physical specimen. And I don't have the free agent list in front of me. It'd be hard to, pick a guy. But what about Allen Robinson? His stock is kind of down given the fact that, like you were talking about with Paul Melton at Rutgers, the quarterback situation in Chicago has been unenviable in a lot of ways. So I don't know. Is it possible to get him on a kind of a prove it type of deal? Maybe we'll see. I mean, there's going to be some talented ones out there, but that's one who comes to mind. And you're right. I think the veteran route, maybe with a day 3 pick thrown in there for good measure, could be the way they go there.
I mean, the irony would be if they walked away with Allen Robinson in free agency and Bo Melton in like the 5th round, and then then you cover all the bases of the guys who prove it, and then you can go out and sign T.Y. Hilton to a prove it deal and reunite him and Sirianni, and you could have a whole prove it team at that point.
Hey, you know what? That's like nirvana for coaches, right? They love having those guys who, money on the line sort of thing. So absolutely.
it's interesting because a lot of people also in our area, they're obsessing over the defensive guys because obviously with Gannon coming back, the assumption in Philadelphia is, okay, he needs more talent on defense, linebacker, safety, cornerback. Assuming the Eagles keep at least 2 of those 3 picks at 15, 16, 19.
Yeah.
Who are the defensive guys that you think fans need to keep in mind as we get closer to the combine and pro days and then the draft?
Yeah. I mean, I think on the defensive line, the edge rush spot is in pretty good shape this year. I think, I wouldn't say you guarantee that one of those picks ends up an edge rusher, but it certainly wouldn't shock me. Right. But, even if Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, and one more go off the board ahead of their first pick, maybe even 2 for that matter, they still could be looking at possibilities such as, Jermaine Johnson this week down at the Senior Bowl played his way into a top 20 spot. That's obviously right in the Eagles' wheelhouse there. George Karlaftis, a kid from Purdue. I sort of view him as more of a high second round prospect, but then again, there may only be 15 or 20 players who truly are first round prospects this year. I know there's 32 picks, but so he's got to be in the mix. David Ojabo, you're gambling on the traits the way, the Ravens did with Odafe Owe last year, and it paid off for the Ravens. He was a good pass rusher for them. And, obviously I would say there's some similarities. They have a background together too, but raw players with great pass rush potential. But Ojabo may be somebody who's a little bit more of a situational player year one. Cameron Thomas, wish we would have seen him. He's more of a base end. He got injured early in the week, didn't really play. Logan Hall's more of probably a 5 technique, I would say, or a base end in the NFL. Hard to see, exactly where he'd fit, but Drake Jackson, other guys, Travon Walker, I would say is a possibility. He's a big, thick frame kid. So that I would say that the defensive end spot makes a ton of sense. And, assuming the Eagles don't go linebacker because of their history,
right?
I don't know if we just sidestep that position altogether. I mean, there may be 2 or possibly 3 who go in the top, 40 or so picks. But cornerback's going to be interesting because Derek Stingley, from LSU, isn't the top 10 lock everybody assumes. Andrew Booth from Clemson is somebody a lot of people seem to like. Trent McDuffie, both Washington kids, along with Kyler Gordon, I think could be first-round picks.
Well, Philadelphia has a bad history with Washington players, so.
That's true, right? Sidney Jones, you got to be careful, right?
And Markel Fultz
that's
with the
thing.
Sixers.
You hate to pass up a kid at a school that you've had bad luck with if you think he's going to be good, but that's got to be in the back of their minds.
Yeah, also Markel Fultz with the Sixers. I mean,
true. I didn't even think of that.
You got all these Washington guys. Yeah, everyone's like, no, stay away. The one guy you didn't mention that fascinates me is Gardner from Cincinnati.
Yeah,
because
I forgot him. Yeah,
he's a guy. He didn't give up touchdowns as a corner, right? He was a guy that I think that on paper people are salivating over, but I don't know. What does he actually project into the NFL? Because to me, my problem with Stingley is he hasn't stayed healthy, right? For the most part. Gardner is a guy that I think a lot of Eagle fans are like, he sounds cool because he's sauce and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
People like the idea of him across from Darius Slay, but does he actually make sense to take at that point in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's worked himself into that top 20 position and could be cornerback 1, depending on how he works out, how he interviews. I mean, I think, he should do fine in both those areas. And, he's a big, long press corner, a little bit of a wiry lower half, it could probably stand to add a little bit of body armor, I would say. But, has some man coverage skills, no doubt. You're right. Didn't give up a touchdown, had 9 picks in 3 years. I mean, he absolutely played his way into the discussion, wanted to take on top corners, allowed Kobe Bryant, who's, I guess, another Philly connection with the name there, did different spelling of C-O-B-Y. His teammate was talking about how, he was sort of a mentor to him and watched him kind of grow as a player. And he really trusted Kobe's kind of guidance and leadership. So, it feels like a guy who's sort of come a long way. I would kind of compare him Let me try to think of a good one here. I wouldn't say he's Stefan Gilmore. I thought Gilmore was, a dude coming out of college. I mean, maybe a little bit of a different kind of guy, but sort of in that vein. Or, maybe like a J.C. Jackson from New England or somebody like that. I mean, the long armed, good build, but enough well-rounded game. I think that you could justify taking him that high.
Eric, before I let you go, obviously it's Super Bowl week. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Listen, to me, and I know there's a lot of storylines going into this game, but the biggest storyline of all to me is the Rams D-line. Because we've now seen Joe Burrow have multiple games where pass rush got to him. The Raiders, the Titans, the Chiefs. That Bengals offensive line is really not good. And I got a feeling that this might be an Aaron Donald, Von Miller game more than anything else.
There's no doubt that this is going to be the best, unit that they've faced. And they're going to have, they will have had 2 weeks to prepare for him. And, Joe's can do it on both ends too, in the sense that he can get rid of the ball quickly and he'll do it against all out pressure. But the Rams may not need to blitz very much, as you pointed out, right? They also have, Leonard Floyd, N'Shawn Robinson, and Greg Gaines, and other, good contributors up front. So, yes, it's absolutely going to be a Donald and Miller game, but those other guys make it hard to, to slant your protection towards them. And so the question for the Bengals is, do you use 6-man protections, 7-man protections? Do you take one of those weapons off the field and make Burrow theoretically less dangerous? I think he invites man coverage. He's fine with you coming with pressure because he knows where he's going to go with the ball. But, if you rush for and get to him consistently, that means there's 7 guys dropping, and it tightens up those windows a little bit. I still think Burrow can overcome some of that, but you're right. There's no question that, they're one big hit away from having a nightmare happen on Sunday.
Before I let you go, is there a player or a storyline that's kind of turned out to be your favorite so far for Super Bowl week?
It's Andrew Whitworth, former Bengal, current Ram. A lot of people feel like it might be his final game. That's kind of a fun one. Obviously, Taylor McVay have a history together. A lot of people kind of, poo-pooed that decision by the Bengals to hire, Sean McVay's butler, right? That was sort of the joke that went around. But, it's after a 6-25-1 start for them to, turn around. They showed some patience. That's pretty cool right there too. And, obviously just Joe and Stafford getting their stages for the first time. I love having 2 first-time quarterbacks, knowing that one's going to get their first Super Bowl. That's pretty neat as well. So there's a lot of storylines in this game, and I think we're going to get a wildly entertaining game. I hope. I mean, that's my feeling going into Sunday.
Yeah, 2 first overall picks as well. When was the last time we had guys of that, marquee actually in this game? For so many years, it's been Brady and Wilson, then Nick Foles at one point. And, the last guy who was picked number 1 overall to even get here was Jared Goff. And I never thought I'd be saying that, but
isn't that crazy? Yeah. They traded him to get the guy that could get him back to the game.
Who also was number 1 overall pick.
Who's also a number 1 pick, right? I mean, what a world we live in. I was watching the Lions last week down at the Senior Bowl. It all kind of ties in.
Eric Edholm from Yahoo Sports. Follow him on Twitter at Eric_Edholm for all your NFL and NFL draft analysis. I'm sure we'll be talking again in the near future, Eric, about the draft, as we have the Combine, we got Pro Days, and then finally we get the NFL draft. For those who actually may or may not care, the USFL actually debuts a week before the NFL draft.
How about that? So, very cool. Yeah, I like it.
Very interesting football offseason, to say the least. Eric, appreciate you jumping on today.
All right, buddy. Thank you, man.
Josh Hennig here, back in the Map by Kia studios here on 97.3 ESPN. I have a bunch of messages to get to. A lot of people reacting to the Ben Simmons stuff, what Eric Edholm had to say about the draft, with your guys' comments on the other side. Keep them coming in. DMs coming in through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and also at 609-403-0973 is text. But don't forget, Sixers basketball tonight versus the Suns. Tom McGinnis on the call right here on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Sunday, the Los Angeles Rams and Cincinnati Bengals square off in Super Bowl 56. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew from LA for all the action. The Bengals are in the big game for the first time in 33 years. Can they bring home the first Super Bowl title in franchise history? Or will the Rams win on their home turf in SoFi Stadium? Tune in to find out. If it's Super Bowl 56, it's right here.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Super Bowl station.
Matt Blatt Nissan is looking to shed excess weight this new year, like $5,000. Yep, $5,000 off MSRP on every 2021 Nissan Titan Pro 4X.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Matt Blatt Nissan needs to move trucks. Every loaded 2021 4x4 Nissan Titan Pro 4X, $5,000 off MSRP. Plus AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today. Get cash on the spot or trade it in and drive a brand new 2021 Nissan Kicks SV. Just $299 per month lease. Or 2022 Nissan Sentra S. Just $249 per month lease with 0 security deposits and drive away with peace of mind. Because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So stop what you're doing and get $5,000 off new Nissans. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. And get equity vehicle refinance into the vehicle. 36 months, 10,000 mile per year lease. Plus tax, and $479 fee. Offers can't be combined. MSRP 60-140. VIN and N53-2176. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
This tax filing season could be one for the record books. There are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table, and Jackson Hewitt will help make sure you get every one you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, taking classes, and so much more. Don't leave thousands on the table. Jackson Hewitt will make sure you get credit for all you do and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more and find your nearest location at jacksonhewitt.com.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Powerball is now at $158 million. Stop searching for four-leaf clovers and take a chance on Powerball today. With a jackpot win, you could have the power to do it all. Anything can happen in Jersey.
The Winter Olympics are coming. 17 days of action, excitement, glory, and history in the making. Don't miss a single epic moment. The Winter Olympics continue tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Did you know running your dishwasher every night with Cascade Platinum actually saves water?
Saving water smarter with the dishwasher.
It's true. An Energy Star certified dishwasher with Cascade Platinum uses only 4 gallons of water per cycle, while a running sink uses that every 2 minutes. Every load saves water.
Saving water smarter with the dishwasher.
So do it every night. Run your dishwasher with Cascade Platinum, the surprising way to
save water.
We talk a lot about betting, but here's something you don't want to gamble with: your home's heating and cooling system and your family's comfort. Mike Gill for Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals. If your home isn't comfortable, don't just keep increasing or decreasing the temperature on your thermostat. Call Ambient Comfort and take advantage of their winter furnace repair special. 10% off any furnace repair, regardless of who originally installed your system. They can also check and clean your system to make sure it's safe, running at maximum efficiency. Prepared to get through the cold weather and avoid rising energy costs. If you're concerned about the over-under of your system surviving the cold weather, go with a sure thing. Call my friends at Ambient Comfort. When comfort matters, choose AmbientComfortNJ.com. That's AmbientComfortNJ.com or call 856-213-6586. 856-213-6586 and get 10% off your furnace repair. Tell them Mike Gill sent you.
Water stains on the shower glass. Try rubbing some shaving cream on them.
Tyler's cleaning crew knows every housekeeping trick in the book.
Handling timesheets now.
But they need a proper bookkeeper to keep finances tidy.
New equipment is a business expense, right?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by AC Airport. Cold weather got you down. Forget the snow boots and pack your swimsuit. Atlantic City International Airport offers nonstop flights to Cancun. Book your flight today at spirit.com. Let's get to your guys' thoughts and comments before we get out of here. Sixers versus Suns tonight. Tom and Guinness on the call, top of the hour, right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. But first, your messages coming in, of course, DMs coming into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City and, of course, the text board 609-403-0973. Matt in Cape May Courthouse says, I'd rather have half a season of James Harden than no season from Ben Simmons. At least Harden will maximize his potential, even if it's not the potential he had 4 or 5 years ago. Matt from Cape May Courthouse goes on to say, however, I'm not trading Maxey and Thibault in the deal. One of them, maybe not both. That's Matt in Cape May Courthouse. Well, Matt, a couple things. One, I think that we are at a point where I feel confident in saying that Maxey's not leaving. I think that he has established himself as part of the future of this franchise. Thibault is interesting because if you trade Thibault and Ben Simmons to the Nets, you're bolstering the Nets defense tenfold. So could you maybe trade somebody else who's not Thibault? Like, for example, Danny Green has $10 million in salary cap. He's a non-guaranteed contract next year, so he could come off the books next year. That could be a salary dump for the Sixers. Maybe Seth Curry, depending on how you feel about the team. The problem is if you get rid of Seth Curry, you get rid of one of your primary three-point shooters. So it's interesting. There's a few ways the Sixers can go about this in terms of salary cap money, but I understand what you're saying. Harden does maximize who he is on the basketball court. He's a gamer. He's a guy who goes out there and plays as hard as he can every single night. So at least you know you're getting the best possible version of Harden night in and night out. Danny HT chimes in and says, the truth is in the draft, the teams don't want to pass on the possible next franchise quarterback. You never want to say you never want to say no to the next great quarterback could be that pick, but the Eagles could go after Hamilton from Notre Dame. A couple things. One, Hamilton from Notre Dame, I don't know if he's getting out of the top 10, honestly. You know, Hamilton is extremely talented. I would love to see him in the Eagles uniform. I just don't know he's getting out of that round. Right? So, in terms of the quarterback thing, look, and this is something that I have gone back and forth with a lot of people about, you know, and you mentioned Russell Wilson and Joe Montana and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. Listen, I understand that, and Peyton Manning and all these guys, they've won Super Bowls, but Peyton Manning got his second ring because of the team he was on. That defense carried him. Russell Wilson hasn't done anything since that short couple appearances with Seattle in the Super Bowl. Hasn't even gotten them back there. Joe Montana went to Kansas City, and he got them to a championship game, didn't get him into the Super Bowl. You can have the quarterback, Tom Brady this year. If you go up against a better team, you're still going to lose. I'm not going to be a slave to drafting a quarterback and keep striking out in hopes of getting the right one. Teams win championships, not individuals. And I'm not going to sit here and draft Kenny Pickett just because he broke Dan Marino's records of Pitt. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Sixers basketball next.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
The Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.